Hey guys, thanks for tuning in for the second episode of Nerd Citadel. First off today, we're going to talk about some of the news regarding the Sony Disney deal around the rights to Spider-Man. So what we've heard so far is that Sony and Disney have reached a deal. It's for one Spider-Man movie and one MCU movie that'll feature Spider-Man. So the way this is apparently working is that Sony will primarily finance the Spider-Man movie, as they have, but they'll also get a 25% contribution from Disney, and Disney will also get 25% of the profits. So the question there, and it's been reported differently from different outlets, Variety and I think most other outlets are saying that it's just 25% contribution from Disney, not that it's co-financing. So it's not like where they get part of the rights of the character back. But Deadline is reporting that it is in fact 25% co-financing. My question is, why would they sign for only one Marvel movie and one MCU movie if they were giving up part of the rights?
Well, this can go one of two ways, depending on how further negotiations go. First off, good on Sony for standing their ground. I might be a bigger fan of the MCU, but I also don't like, what Disney was asking for before everything seemed to go south. But as far as, it being one solo film, one ensemble film, this can go one of two ways. It will either result in Spider-Man being expelled from the MCU, either through retiring or through dying. They could just be using these films to tie up that loose end of Spider-Man in the MCU. Mm-hmm. Or, and this probably rides on whether or not one or both of these films are successful, it could open the door for further negotiation. Kind of just a repeat of what already happened. Mm-hmm. We just gotta hope that one of these companies doesn't start asking for too much again. Because Tom Holland's on board, Kevin Feige loves the character, everyone loves Spider-Man, and... Mm-hmm. And regardless of, how you feel about Raimi versus the MCU or the Amazing Spider-Man, whatever, I think the Tom Holland Spider-Man has been a very faithful adaptation of source material, and has been wildly successful. And I think the majority of us want to see him stay. Mm-hmm. So,
well, and if they do part ways, at least this gives an opportunity that they can do it in a way that would make sense to each universe.
Yes.
Or they could do it in a way where it would make sense they wanted to bring him back at some point. Where they could depart the stories in such a way that you wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't mention Tony Stark in the future, or if Nick Fury doesn't mention Spider-Man.
Right, yeah. It's a nice... kind of
or they can come to a
deal,
or they can come to a deal where even after they part ways, they can mention each other's characters in the movies.
Right, and who knows, eventually cross over again, like you said. Yeah. So if that's how they want to do it, I would be okay with that. Tom Holland's already said he's willing to play Spider-Man until he can't walk anymore. So, and the kid's what, 21 now? 22?
Yeah, but with all the stunts he does and the risks he takes, that could be the next movie.
He's in stellar shape. He'll be fine. Plus, they could just CG him in.
So, with knowing that he will be in the MCU, I think it makes sense to speculate a little bit on what they might do with him going forward. Well, one thing is, so if they're only doing one movie...
I'm listening to you.
You know how they were talking about Norman Osborn at one point possibly being a central big bad in Phase 4?
I I'm very happy about that idea.
But could they still do that if Spider-Man is only supposed to be in one... If there's only going to be one excuse me. If there's only going to be one Spider-Man movie with Kevin Feige co-producing and one MCU movie, could they work in a big story arc like that?
That would take negotiating on the on the side of the companies.
They would have to make sure that they could use... You could do it if you made a decision that you could use Norman Osborn in both movies, even if they parted ways.
Yes, they would have to do that, or take a villain that's a little more ambiguous to where, to whose property he belongs to.
Like Doctor Doom?
Like Doctor Doom, or even if you want to keep it New York based, you go with Kingpin or something, and just kind of...
Yeah.
And just do kind of what the MCU has done with characters before, and just kind of blend aspects of characters into one known name. I think Wilson Fisk would, if for whatever reason they can't do Norman Osborn, you could easily fill that role with the Kingpin.
I was just going to say, you could do the whole Dark Reign story
with Wilson Fisk.
Where, a big corporate entity like Oscorp, but instead with Wilson Fisk in charge, creates his own team of Avengers.
Yeah, you can easily do that. That is probably the easiest adaptation, or changing around the story a bit to suit the narrative of the MCU. That would be easy. It would be cool if they got what's his name, who played Fisk in Daredevil, to do it. As long as they beef his arms up a little bit.
Who's Vincent?
I don't know actor names as well as I should. For someone who loves movies as much as I do,
I think Vincent D'Onofrio. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong.
Yeah, sure. Vinny. Well, I'll just call him Vinny. Just get him to the gym and pump his arms up a little bit. And there you go. He is perfect Kingpin. Maybe direct him to be a little more aggressive and a little less subdued and shy until his bursts of rage. Just do that. He would be fun to see as an overarching villain. I wouldn't even say big bad, just kind of like that overarching threat.
Now, I've seen on a lot of social media platforms a number of fans calling for, they would like to see a live action Into the Spider-Verse that brings in Tobey Maguire.
Oh, Lord.
And brings in Andrew Garfield.
I think that would
meeting Tom Holland's Spider-Man. I don't think I want to see that.
I absolutely don't want to see that. I think some things are better animated than they are live action.
What would be cool, though, is if they did a second Into the Spider-Verse and they brought in Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
Yeah, that would be fun. Just have him voice the animated version of himself. That'd be great.
And just have him make a comment about how weird he looks in this universe.
Yeah, that'd be fun. I know, and this is a little off topic-ish, but people were talking after the deal had initially fell through that at the end of the next Deadpool,
to
have a post-credit scene where I guess because Fox is owned by Disney now, so technically they could tie Deadpool into the MCU to where Nick Fury goes into Deadpool's apartment and Tom Holland's there and he's like, "Oh, Parker, that's where you've been?" And Deadpool can be like, "Shh, you can't call him that anymore. He's just Tom." And Tom can do a little wave, "Hello." Then Tobey Maguire pokes his head into the room and he says something funny. You hear Andrew Garfield in the kitchen, "Hey, who wants toast?" And
with his over-exaggerated
with his
New York accent.
Oh my God. Honestly, most infuriating and entertaining part of the Amazing Spider-Man films. Hey, my dad just left a briefcase full of junk. That's all I got. It's a briefcase. I don't know. I don't talk about it. Hey, oh, hey. And then to have Tom Holland kind of mock that in Homecoming was fun. Hey, don't worry about it. I got you. How you doing? Anyway.
Yeah, and I mean, some other stories that might be cool to see would be like, well, I'd really like to see. We haven't seen Spider-Man really as an Avenger.
It would be cool to see him.
Not fully, just kind of on like an emergency basis.
Yeah, he's been an Avenger in these periods of absolute crisis where he's not really part of the team, but he's part of the team.
No, just like an honorary Avenger.
Yeah, he got the little, blessing from Tony,
Mm-hmm.
but then never interacted with the other Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
And then in Endgame, who's paying attention to the kid in the spider suit? I mean, we were, but no one in that battle was. They got their own crap to handle. So it would be cool to actually see him interacting with who's left. Falcon and Rhodey and Professor Hulk. I think given Tom Holland and Mark Ruffalo's acting abilities and how well they play off of each other in interviews and in person and
Mm-hmm.
things like that, it would be really fun to see Professor Hulk and Spider-Man interacting. So.
Yeah, I really would have liked to see more of Captain America and Spider-Man interacting.
Yeah, Brooklyn and Queens.
Yeah, just because of, and also,
Well,
how starstruck he seemed of
meeting Captain America.
But
Well,
we never really got to see that play out in between them.
Right. I mean, technically, Steve Rogers is still in that universe.
What if they do like have you ever heard of, I know you never read them, but have you ever heard of the Avengers Academy books?
I've heard of them.
What if they did like an Avengers Academy with Professor Steve Rogers?
Oh, that'd be fun.
Just in like shield gear.
Yeah,
training all the new heroes.
That'd be pretty cool. I don't know. I always kind of romanticize the idea that that now that we have this old man Steve,
Mm-hmm.
that we would see him maybe sparingly, but I feel like they've left an open door enough that he could be the new leader of S.H.I.E.L.D., the new director of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Mm-hmm.
And technically, it could be like a behind the scenes thing. Do like a pseudo Illuminati thing, to where he's kind of like the mastermind behind a lot of the directions that Nick Fury is taking now.
Mm-hmm.
He's lived in an alternate timeline, come back to this timeline somehow. He's lived, because the super soldier serum is also, it slows the aging process, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So seeing him that old, he's probably been around a while. Fury could use that strategically.
Not only that, but despite what he looks like, we don't know what his prowess is like at this point.
Imagine like we go through all of Phase 4, we see him a couple times and he just seems like a frail old man. Phase 5 comes around, just something bad happens. Galactus is tearing stuff up and he's like reaching down, to...
You just see a shield hit his hand.
Oh no, just he's like reaching down and old man Steve is on the ground looking all old and frail and the hand comes down and he just catches it.
I think that'd be a little bit exaggerated.
Oh, it would be, because Galactus,
even having him hold Thanos' hand up was kind of like, eh.
Yeah, I was expecting his speech, the as long as one man stands against you thing, but
Mm-hmm.
we got Steve Steving hard. Anyway, though, we're going way off topic. We're supposed to be talking about Spider-Man, and we started talking about old man Steve. Old man Jenkins.
No, but Norman Osborn would be cool, and you know what other laughing homicidal maniac is pretty cool?
My ex?
Cool?
No.
The Joker.
Oh yeah, he's pretty cool.
And this Friday, well, I guess Thursday night technically, the Joker will be premiering, and we're planning on seeing it, and we'll post our review for you after the show, or probably a day or two after. Um, we talk about whether or not that's soon enough to do, or too soon to do a spoiler review, or if we just do our initial
We could do
reactions.
we could do one of each. I am absolutely down to do a spoiler free review.
Initial reactions walking out of the movie, and
Oh
then
hell yeah,
a little bit later we'll post our spoiler review.
hell yeah.
But
So spoiler warning ahead of time. If you don't
yeah,
want to
episode
see
3 spoilers.
episode 3 spoilers. Joaquin Phoenix plays the Joker. Spoiler. No, I'm very excited about that film. I think it's got a lot of attention
For all the wrong reasons.
for right and wrong reasons.
It did win the Golden Lion at the Venice Film Festival.
Yes.
And I think I read that it got like a 6-minute standing ovation. Not sure what other film festivals it's shown at, if any. But critically, there seems to be a lot of positive buzz.
Yes, which is fantastic. Joaquin Phoenix is a great actor. And just seeing him embodying that character just makes me wonder why didn't they get him to do it sooner?
Mm-hmm.
And this is just based off of trailers. I want to see I want to see the true chaotic, menacing side of the Joker, the person that not only is chaos embodied, but in a weird sense thinks he is justified in wanting to share that chaos with the world. There is a great scene from I think it was The Dark Knight Returns in the Joker's little section of that, where he's on a talk show.
Oh yeah, it's like a Jay Leno style.
Jay Leno type thing, and they're like, "Oh, hey, Joker, how you doing? What are you doing?" And he's like, "I just want to let you know I'm going to kill everyone in this room."
And they all laugh, not taking him seriously.
Yeah, because everyone thinks that he's taking that he's just making a joke. That's what he does. He's the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
And then he smashes the coffee cup and slices cuts the show host's throat with it. I kind of want to see that happen. Not because I don't like Robert De Niro, but he knew what he was getting into. But yeah, when you say all the wrong reasons, I know some people are upset that they feel like this movie is glorifying violence as a means of therapy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know all the details of that, but I can tell you.
Well, I think it's more of the idea of they're taking somebody with mental illness and making them basically the protagonist of the movie, in which they're also the villain.
Yes, and I have split views on this because mental health is kind of an important thing to me. But if this were kind of any other movie, I would be like, you might want to tread lightly on this. You don't want to take someone with mental illness or mental health issues and make their idea of therapy or make their solution, at least in their fractured mind, to be violence. Because that's rarely ever the answer.
But see, I take
But let
Continue.
me finish, mister. I saw our frames were being dropped and got distracted. But what people seem to forget is that this is a movie about the Joker, the iconic Batman villain, who has since 1940 something or other, 1930 something or other.
No, probably 40s.
Okay, since like the early 40s.
Yeah, listen in the comments.
Yeah. When did Joker make his premiere? It was a long time ago. Who has historically been a crazy, violent person. All this movie is doing is trying to be, one, a good movie, and two, tell a faithful adaptation of one of this character's origins.
Well, I don't know if I'd say faithful adaptation. They're really taking their complete own spin on it.
Right. Well, it seems like a lot of it is taken from the One Bad Day scenario. A lot of it's pulling from that.
Yeah, the cool thing with a Joker movie, and I think this was the idea when they were originally mentioning, I don't know if this was just a rumor, but originally there was some information going around that they were talking about 4 completely unrelated Joker movies with different actors. And I still kind of like that idea because of the Joker always saying that if he's going to have an origin story, he'd prefer it to be multiple choice.
Yeah, that would, one, be fun. It would be creative. DC, listen to us. Do that. You can actually like create this unique sprawling universe that isn't trying to catch up to the MCU to be something completely different. Do it.
Yeah, and you could have anybody you want play the Joker in the main DCEU movies, and any of these scenarios we've seen in these other Joker movies could or couldn't be his true origin story. We don't really know.
Yeah, you just get someone. You know what? In the DCEU, just get someone different to play him in each movie. That would be weird. That way, not to do like there are multiple
3 Jokers.
Yeah, not to do that. But to also keep the audience on their toes as to which origin they should be following.
Maybe they switch between the different actors that are playing him in the standalone Joker movies.
Yeah, screw it. Do it. I don't care. I think it'd be fun. But, you know, the idea that this movie is going to send the wrong message about violence being therapeutic, I think is completely unfounded. I think it's ridiculous and frankly stupid. You know, we we have a bunch of these movies already, and you don't see a ton of people taking them as, you know, as doctrine. Like,
No.
oh, I'm upset, so I should kill people. We've all seen Taxi Driver. None of us have gone on a murder spree.
And what about the first Silence of the Lambs movie, where Hannibal Lecter is clearly an insane criminal in that, but he's also one of the protagonists of the movie at the same time. He's helping to solve the case. Like,
you know, it's one of those things. I think some people get a little too sensitive about these topics, and which I'm not saying that you can't have an opinion. Obviously, you're allowed to have your opinion, but if you think that a movie like this is that damaging, then I've got some bad news for you, because this movie will probably be pretty tame in comparison to the insane person goes nuts and kills people trope. Because this is a character with an actual origin.
yeah, and I think it's more of a cautionary tale for how far somebody can be driven. Somebody who is otherwise
A pretty well-adjusted
person.
timid person. You know, that's kind of when I say the One Bad Day thing. When I see that trailer, I see the Red Hood origin Joker. You know, where he was just a struggling comedian, a struggling dude that just
trying
wanted
to take care of his pregnant wife,
trying to take care of his woman, trying to you know, make people laugh, trying to make people happy, and just life beating him down to the point where he had one bad day and snapped.
Yeah, now, one of the things I've heard about this movie I think is pretty neat is that I don't know the medical term, but I guess the laugh that he exhibits in the trailers and in the movie is supposed to be kind of like a compulsive, like Tourette's kind of twitch.
Oh, that'd be interesting. That would
Yeah.
be interesting.
So you see, like in the trailer, people saying, "What are you laughing at?" and punching him in the face. He can't actually stop laughing.
Huh. So as he breaks more, he's just going to start laughing more. The
Yeah.
Man Who Laughed would be good, I think. Well, you know what? No, not it's just that I think it's going to be good. It better be good. You know, movies win awards all the time and turn out to be schlock.
Yeah, but it's Joaquin Phoenix. I don't think there's any chance that this isn't good.
Right. And I trust Joaquin Phoenix. You know, freaking Walk the Line, like, one of the only, like, documentary artist biopics I've actually liked. Probably just because of Joaquin Phoenix.
Her.
Yeah, Her was good. Oh, Her.
What was that one where he was a hired hand and he was looking for the girl that was kidnapped? Were You Ever Really Here or something?
Oh, something like that. I know what you're talking about. That, yeah, Joaquin Phoenix is just good. So Joker better be good. Don't be like Crash or Avatar. Don't come out of the gate strong and then just not be good 2 days later. But that's a whole other topic. Speaking of other topics, I'm going to shift gears completely to talk about The Last of Us Part 2. Yes, we did say we're going to talk about video games, and video games are my thing. The Last of Us is my favorite game of all time. Now, with the state of play and new trailer that just dropped at this point 5-6 days ago, we got to see more of the in-game graphics, which look great. They look like a fantastic step up from the original game while staying absolutely faithful to the art style and motion capture of the original. Big reveal of Joel at the end of the trailer looking old as hell. So Joel's alive, since I know people were worried about that for a while.
Well, for everybody that isn't familiar with The Last of Us, can you just give us like a brief rundown of what the main story of the first game is about and where this is picking up?
Logan with mushrooms. The Last of Us is the story of a man named Joel who, in the year 2012, 2013, was witness to an outbreak of fungal infection in human brains, a mutated strain of, and I don't know the full name of it, but it's a cordyceps fungus that is typically found in ants, or just insects in general. It seems to prefer ants, that alters the behavior of its host, and eventually, once it's sapped the nutrients out of them, the host dies, and then the fungus is able to grow out of them.
Basically, the ant bites down onto a leaf and can't let go.
Pretty much, yeah. There are multiple different parasites out there, but this is what the game is based off of. On pretty much the first night of the outbreak in Texas, where Joel lives with his daughter, Sarah, Sarah, and his brother Tommy try to get out of, I believe they're in Austin. They're in either Austin or Houston. I can't remember. Or just outside of one of those cities. But because of the chaos going on in this now just overwhelming outbreak, because the cordyceps spreads pretty fast. In the game's universe, once you're bitten, even within a few hours, it starts getting worse. And within a day or two, you're fully infected. You're fully taken over. So this spreads fast. Did I say virus? Fungus. So in the chaos, Tommy's car crashes, and Joel has to try to protect his daughter, who broke her leg in the crash. So the opening of the game involves you just running from these things until eventually you're found by the military, who are then given a kill order to anyone in the infected zone, and in the ensuing gunfire, Sarah is shot and killed.
And at which point through the game do you make contact with the main girl?
Ellie, you meet pretty early in the first act. After that introduction, there's a 20-year time jump to where Joel and his partner Tess are living in a Boston quarantine zone, where after an arms deal kind of thing goes awry, they link up with the leader of a rebel militia group that's fighting against the police state of the nation, called the Fireflies. They meet up with, oh my god, Marlene, who says, hey, okay, I have all the weapons that you'll need for your deal. I just need you to deliver some cargo for me. She introduces us to Ellie, who is the Joel's partner throughout the game. It's revealed that Ellie is infected, but something about her body has adapted to the cordyceps that the infection won't spread. She is not being taken over. Her infection is weeks old, and the idea is to get her to a Firefly lab to extract and synthesize a cure for
It's like an antifungal cream.
yeah, like an antifungal cream. They're making like Super Gold Bond. So the game takes place over the course of a year. It starts in summer. Tess ends up getting bitten. She gets infected, and she goes out in a blaze of glory. Joel and Ellie find the Fireflies that they were looking for. They've all been killed. So Joel goes on this pretty much like a cross-country mission to get Ellie to the Firefly lab, in which we find Tommy 20 years later, Joel's brother. We meet other characters that either part ways with the group or die. And the game's overall story at the end, as it turns out, Ellie, in order to synthesize a cure, they need to remove the cordyceps, but it's wrapped around her brainstem. So the only way to remove it is to sacrifice her, which Joel is not willing to do at that point. He views her as a daughter at that point, because they've been together for about a year at the end of the game.
But she's left at. Correct me if I'm wrong. You're left at the end of the game to believe that Joel is dead?
No. Joel, at the end of the game, you're left with mixed feelings about Joel, because before the end segment where you get the big reveal of Ellie's infection and how to remove it, she says a couple of times throughout that she's like, we got to do this, everyone that we've lost on the way, it can't be for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Joel refuses to let her be sacrificed, she's under anesthesia the whole time, so she's out of the loop. Joel kills Marlene, who has helped raise Ellie at that point, and pretty much kills all the Fireflies in order to save Ellie. And at the end, she stops him when they're going back to Tommy's settlement, and she's like, because he tells her, he's like, yeah, it turns out you're not the only one who's immune. They found a mess of kids, and they've been trying, and unfortunately, there's no cure, so we're just going to go back to Tommy's. She stops him at the end of the game, and she says, everything you just told me about the Fireflies and there not being a cure, is it true? You need to swear on my life, is it true? And the game ends with Joel saying, I swear. Like, him blatantly lying to her.
Now, when the next game picks up, though, it's much later, right?
Yes, it's...
Ellie's, I take it, an adult at this point?
Yes. I think what they said, it's 5 years later.
Okay.
So it's 5 years later. Ellie is now in her early 20s. She's 20, 21.
And Joel's old as dirt.
Yeah, and Joel was already supposed to be in his mid 50s.
Okay.
In the first game, so he's in his 60s now. So for living in that world, that is old as dirt. It appears, from what the trailers are showing, that Ellie has a best friend, I believe named Dina, who she also has kind of a romance with, who may or may not be killed at some point in the game. Given the footage, it also seems that there might have been implied or maybe shown in game sexual assault against Ellie during that time period, where Dina may or may not die, and Ellie going on a vendetta. As is her nature, if you've played the first game, she likes to get revenge, and when someone messes with her, she messes back. Now we're dealing with an older, more seasoned, more skilled Ellie, who is going to be the protagonist.
Okay.
And I saw some footage where there are some new game mechanics. Now dogs are part of the game, whereas your enemy characters will have dogs that they can send after you to trace your scent. The original game had a listen mode where you can kind of pinpoint enemy locations. Now the listen mode also has a scent trail leading to your character. This
almost sounds like the zombie edition of Batman Arkham Asylum.
I mean, probably. The Arkham games have inspired a lot, especially as far as stealth mechanics go. So, if you make a noise and a dog starts barking in your direction, you run 3 rooms away and hide. If that dog still finds your scent trail, it'll lead the enemies straight to you. You also have the ability to shimmy between small spaces to get the drop on enemies, something that you couldn't really do in the first game. But the overall gameplay and how it works seems pretty similar. It's all just taking what was good in the first game and improving it. But there's, other than that, not a whole lot known. But the game looks like it's going to make me cry. I want to cry now. The first game made me cry in multiple moments. So I want this game to do that. Naughty Dog is good at writing stories. So, and I've gone on way long about this game. I could talk about The Last of Us forever. Like when they go to Bill's town, it turns out at the very end that Bill was gay the whole time. But you know what? No one cares because
zombies are eating people.
Zombies are eating people. Yeah, and Joel's like, "Oh man, I'm sorry your guy died," and Bill's like, "Get the fuck out of my town," and Joel's like, "Cool, bye."
All right. Well, do you have the first game?
Yes.
Can I borrow it?
It's
what system is it for?
It's PS4. I have the remastered version on PS4. I don't have a physical copy though.
Well, I'll have to come over sometime to
get
a taste of it.
Oh, dude.
Before the new one comes out.
Yeah, you'll love it. The control scheme is great, but we can talk about that after we finish this video.
But, I just wanted to let them know that I will make sure I'm well informed when we talk about the game when it actually releases.
Yes.
But, we're making pretty good time, so I want to throw in a few other things here. One that's really going to excite you. They are making
I'm rock hard.
Anime. You're talking about your apps, right? This is a PG-13
sure
show. They are making an animated Superman Red Sun movie.
Oh, sweet! Oh, that's so cool.
Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with the story, spoilers. In Superman Red Sun, it's an Elseworld story. Superman lands in Soviet Russia.
Comrade Superman.
Rather than Kansas. And is actually raised by Stalin.
Oh, he's raised by Ugh.
Yeah.
I forgot that part. I actually didn't know about the Stalin twist.
But what's interesting is that even though he's raised in this type of society, his intentions are still pure.
Gotcha.
They still make him a very likable, although somewhat misguided character.
Gotcha. It's
And
almost like he's embodying the communist ideal and not the practice.
yes, yeah, exactly. And what's really neat about they make a lot of other really interesting decisions with the story.
Well, yeah, Batman's like a rebel fighter.
Well, more Batman's basically a terrorist. Batman ultimately turns out to be a suicide bomber.
Oh, good for him.
But yeah, and they make Lex Luthor, albeit still a mad scientist, works directly for the U.S. government and creates Bizarro, who again is a clone of Superman, but has his shield has U.S. in the shield.
Gotcha.
But they make some other interesting choices, like how Hal Jordan becomes the Green Lantern, but the way that he proves that he has the willpower to be a Green Lantern is that he's a prisoner of war, and he survives through sheer willpower, through constructing in his mind scenarios in which he takes out his anger on his captors. So he's a much more twisted version of the Green Lantern. But ultimately, at the end, again, spoilers, Brainiac comes to Earth, and Luthor and Superman have to join forces to stop Brainiac. And ultimately, the book jumps into the future. Well, it jumps several times and shows you the progression of humanity up until when the sun starts to go supernova and turns red.
Well, yeah, it turns out the name Luthor gets
shorter and shorter.
It's shortened to Luth, to Lu, to L.
Yes.
And it turns out that Superman is a distant descendant.
Yeah, the spaceship that took him to Earth wasn't a spaceship, but was in fact a time machine.
I like it. I think that's a really fun twist. So
that's going to be really exciting. I'm really looking forward to that. There's also I'm really looking forward to. I know you're not real big on the CW shows, but I really think that they're doing a lot of interesting things with the Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yeah, that's pretty. That is a pretty cool concept.
I don't know if you've seen the image yet that they released of Brandon Routh reprising his role as Superman, but now he's going to be the Superman from Kingdom Come.
So yeah, I'm okay with that.
And the suit's awesome.
You see, the problem with Brandon Routh isn't Brandon Routh. It was kind of just the movie he was in.
It was Bryan Singer.
Yeah. Superman Returns. I get what they were going for. I do get what they were going for. They were trying to set it in the same... They were trying to give it the same feel as the original.
Well, it was a sequel to the second Christopher Reeves movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I get that. Just the only thing is that these directors also need to remember what worked then doesn't always work now. You can have it be a sequel, but you also still need to kind of keep up with modern times and modern trends a little bit.
Yeah, it's strange having
because Brandon Routh had the perfect look to be the Christopher
But
Reeve
what was really
Superman.
bizarre about that movie was that it was also a period piece.
Yes.
And that didn't necessarily translate too well. And apparently they were planning on continuing that. Like, Man of Steel was always supposed to be the title of the sequel to Superman Returns.
Jeez.
And that was just a weird decision to just keep continuing in that time period. And eventually,
can you see Henry Cavill just doing, the father becomes the son. The son sees through the eyes of the father. Eagles fly.
Well, no, Brandon Routh was still going to be playing Superman. Even when they decided to reboot it for a while, they were saying Brandon Routh would still be Superman in the reboot.
I mean, I do like how Henry Cavill looked better, but I know why they picked Brandon Routh. Brandon Routh is the closest we'll get to looking like Christopher Reeves.
Yeah.
Like he was pretty spot on. And his kind of delivery, the way he acted, was still pretty similar to that Superman. But like you said, the whole period piece thing didn't lend itself well to when the movie actually came out.
Mm-hmm. Now, what I am hoping with him playing the Kingdom Come Superman is that iteration of Superman, the Kingdom Come in this universe, will be the future of the Christopher Reeves Superman. So that he's actually, in a way, we're getting Christopher Reeves Superman in the Crisis.
That'd be pretty cool. Yeah, watch the original Superman movies and watch that one that you flopped in. And just be that again. Except a little darker. Oh man, do you think we'll get Kevin Spacey's Lex Luthor? He comes through the portal on Infinite Earths. Just hold.
You had to go there, didn't you?
Sorry, I felt like calling out someone for being terrible.
But they're also going to have characters come back from Smallville.
Oh, cool.
They're going to have Lois and Clark back from Smallville.
Yeah, Smallville was a good show. I like that one. It's been a very long time.
And then, of course, Kevin Conroy's Batman.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Now, the question is whether or not... They specifically said he's going to be an older Bruce Wayne / Batman. So they're going to go one of two ways. Either he's from a universe similar to Batman Beyond, or he is the Bruce Wayne from Kingdom Come.
I don't know enough about Kingdom Come to know how Bruce Wayne acts in that storyline, though.
He acts like Bruce Wayne.
Oh, he just acts like Bruce Wayne? Okay, well, Kevin Conroy can do that. So he was most of us. He was our first Bruce Wayne,
and for many, he's the definitive Bruce Wayne.
Yes,
I was been thinking about this recently. You know how did you ever watch Arrow at all?
Yeah.
You know in the early episodes, he always used a voice modulator.
Yes.
I think with the Matt Reeves, the Batman movie, they should have. Why am I blanking on his name? Who's our new Batman?
Robert Pattinson?
Robert Pattinson. When he is in costume, he should use a voice modulator and it should be Kevin Conroy's voice.
No, I don't like that idea at all.
You want him to speak like Christian Bale?
No, just have him do the same thing that they did with Ben Affleck's voice modulator. That was a cool enough modulator. It didn't sound too goofy, and it was enough to hide his voice. It worked.
Yeah, but to have Kevin Conroy's voice.
Yeah, but then you have to hire Kevin Conroy to voice over someone that sounds nothing like Kevin Conroy.
Yeah, but you're not going to know that when he's in costume. All you see is his mouth.
Oh, whatever. I don't like it, but...
I mean, Ghostface in all the Scream movies always has the same voice because he's using the same voice modulator, but it's always a different killer.
Well, I'm pretty sure they got one person to do the voice every time, though.
Well, no, I get that, but I'm saying this is a new universe. You could use Kevin Conroy's voice.
If they can do it in a way that doesn't look dumb, then sure, go for it.
I just want an excuse to have a movie with Kevin Conroy as Batman.
Just make Batman Beyond, then.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, I think that sums up our...
Or do Michael Keaton as Old Man Bruce.
There you go. But, yeah, I think that sums up our video for today. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and tune in next week for our Joker review.
Stephen Yeun for Terry McGinnis.